know it's been a while since I did a video, but, you know, I've been busy. I've been doing the Geeks and Ghosts podcast with my buddy Lou in California, who is still in charge of my complaint department. So if you have any hate mail at the end of this video, be sure to send it to him. But we do a weekly show, so I'm always doing stuff for that. Booking guests and figuring out topics and, you know, just goofing off. Plus, I do a lot of writing. I've been working on that Orbs or Dust book, 2. So that is in the works there, Greg O'Brien, before you ask me. But this video, this is going to be viewer questions part 2, which is part 2. And I figured, you know, instead of doing a regular topic again, because I just have so much I've been doing, so many projects with writing and podcasts, and actually starting a cleanup project at a cemetery. I'm swamped, so I figured this would be easier. I'll give you a little bit of this and that instead of a big chunk of one thing. I have no idea what I'm talking about, so let's just get to the questions, okay? The first question is from Andy Henson, and he says, firstly, I would like to say that I am most definitely a fan. Yes! All right. I am interested to learn more about your motives. Do you have any beliefs at all in the paranormal? If not now, maybe did you ever? That's pretty good. Yes, I did have beliefs growing up. You know, when I was little and growing up, teenage years, I totally believed in ghosts and angels and demons. I was raised Catholic. That wasn't fun. But I had a belief in all that stuff. So in '97, when I got married, I joined a ghost hunting team too, because one of our presents to ourselves when we got married was a computer. You know, way back in the Stone Age there. So I started looking up sites, and because I had an interest in ghosts, I looked those up. So I found a team in the area, I joined them, and unfortunately, I went on ghost hunts. I did exactly what you see ghost hunting teams do today, and I repeated their methods, and I repeated the stuff that they said. You know, like orbs. I thought orbs were real. You know, I thought ecto was real. I thought apparitions were just all over the place, and you know, and any kind of weird photograph was woohoo, a ghost. Any kind of weird noise was an EVP. So there you go. I mean, shocker. You know, I actually believed all that stuff, and then the more I learned, the more I realized really how wrong I was. I started doubting what I was doing and what my team members were doing. I started asking more questions than we got answers for, and I really started debunking a lot of stuff. And I don't like the word debunking a lot because, you know, it comes with a bias. But that's what I was doing. I was figuring out what was going on. So I began really to understand what science was doing, why science didn't accept the paranormal, as in my view, like the paranormal community with their ideas and pseudo theories and pseudoscience. I understand why they were bitching about paranormal people and why skeptics cause so many quote unquote problems for ghost hunters. And biggest thing, I learned what critical thinking was, which is freaking awesome. It gives you a better idea of what's going on. You really get to the nitty-gritty of the details. My motives now really is to bring more critical thinking to everybody in the paranormal community, to cut down on the amount of misinformation being spread by people who take things at face value, and to help those that are being scammed by greedy charlatans. You know, I have one of my pet peeves is psychics. Now, I don't want this to be a blanket statement, but the psychics that I've dealt with money, really, I think, personally, they should prove their ability before they start charging money. They should be able to prove that they can actually do what they say they can do. But that's just me. And the big ones, you know, the popular ones that are on TV and charge a lot of frickin' money for bullshit, I have a problem with. So those are my motives, you know, just to help. If people have questions and they don't know the answers, I want to be able to help find them the answer, or at least point them in the right direction. And if I have knowledge that can help, you know, if you figure out what a picture or a video is or an experience, then I'm more than willing to share that with you and help you understand better, so that later on down the road you do a better job. So that's pretty much my those are my motives. My knowledge in photography is far from complete, but I've carved a pretty good niche in the whole paranormal community thing. You know, with able to explain ghost photographs and even UFO photographs. I do work consultation work for MUFON groups out here. And my knowledge in science grows every day, and that's a big motive too, because every single day I'm learning something new, and it's exhilarating, it's exciting, because I'm learning more about biology and physics and geology and psychology, and you know, I'm not going to school for it. I don't want to pretend that I'm going to school or pretend that I have a PhD. But I do read up on it. You know, the books that you see back here, these are psychology books, sociology books, physics, and I read them from time to time. You know, I take them out and when I'm bored and I read, and it's great because I learn something new every day. So that's a big motive, and I think that's it for now, at least for your question, Andy. I hope that answered it. Let's go on to the next one. All right, hold on. All right, the next question is from Dennis Dury. And Dennis asks, I would like to know how you manage people who will never listen to reason and are beyond logic. Believers that, for example, believe an orb in a photograph must be a spirit, and that is that. I come up against many like this, and even after explaining how a flash works, how a camera works, and what dust particles are, they make statements such as, well, I'm not going to change my belief or mind. How do you reason with a person such as this? Wow. Okay, so, Dennis, I guess the first thing is sometimes you can't. That's the simple answer. Sometimes you just can't reason with somebody that has a belief that's so strong that despite mounting evidence, there's nothing you can do or say that's going to convince them otherwise. This is a cognitive dissonance where they have, and I'm not an expert on this, but it's when they have one belief and then you bring in evidence of another idea that conflicts with their original belief, and they struggle, and then they, you know what, they go with the original one and they justify it somehow. Confirmation bias is common throughout the paranormal community, which is basically it's taking all the hits, the things that support your belief or look like they support your belief, and you promote the shit out of them, and you go with them. You highlight them. That's what you write about on your Facebook posts. The pictures that look like they support what you believe is there, like a ghost or, you know, orb or whatever, and they promote the shit out of that. Whereas the other side of confirmation bias is that when you get negative hits, which means it didn't pan out, something comes up like some kind of evidence that shows that you were wrong, you ignore it or downplay it and make it look like it's not important and it's not really part of it. That's part of confirmation bias. So when you have that going on each time that they go out on a ghost hunt or go out on their self-styled paranormal investigations, they go out, they get all these experiences, these subjective experiences, and it reinforces their own belief. So they constantly go and go and go and reinforce and reinforce and reinforce. So there's not much you can do. What else? I'm reading off my notes here, so because I had a lot to say, and I tried to cut it down because I don't want to take up, like, I could talk for an hour on this one. The best I can do is best that I do is explain what I see. I try to demonstrate it. If it's something like, for example, you said orbs. So what I do is try to show them all the things that will cause an orb and why. The best thing I did, and I've done this in previous videos, earlier videos, and I've done this on lectures, with orbs, especially with dust particles and stuff. Usually I tell them to take a pen or a pencil like this, and tell them to focus on like a far wall, okay? Something that's like a good 10 feet or more away. All right, when you focus on that, close one eye, so you're like this, okay? Take a pen, hold it out at arm's length. All right, so, you know, this would be arm's length from the camera. You focus on this, okay? When you're looking at it, you can see it. They're like, all right, cool. And then tell them to focus on the wall beyond this pen, all right? So I'm going to demonstrate from this side. So now I'm focused on the wall behind it, and it's kind of blurry now. Now tell them to move it closer and closer to their eye, the pen, okay? And you come over, and as you get closer, you'll notice that the pen point gets blurrier and blurrier, and it actually forms an orb, because I have a light overhead, and it's reflecting off the brass tip. So I'm getting an orb image, and it becomes very transparent. And this demonstrates very simply, very effectively, dust particles in front of the lens. It's a good way to show them, because it's not only just somebody else telling them, it's them doing it for themselves. If you can get somebody to replicate an experience through natural occurrences themselves, it helps them to get a better idea of what's going on. If you can get them to solve a mystery on their own, maybe with, you know, little help from you, then it solidifies it better in their head than you just telling them. What else did I write here? With other experiences and proof, I try to break it down into critical questions, examining the evidence presented piece by piece. So if they present you with a story like, oh, this one time I experienced this, this is probably where I usually get more annoying, because I ask a lot of questions. I want details. You know, if you saw an apparition, okay, what did it look like? Male or female? Young or old? Was it holding anything? What kind of clothes? Did it wear a shirt, pants, jeans, shorts, a dress, a coat, long coat, short coat? Did it have a tank top on? How was the hair? Was it brunette, redhead, blonde, bald, long, short? Was it up in buns? You know, lay-up buns. Stuff like that. Ask. Also, like other factors. Was there anybody else there? Do you have any video? Do you have pictures? Can I see the pictures? Can I see the video? Keep going. Don't be rude, because sometimes it's easy to cross that line and be rude. But try to be polite and just ask questions, because you want to know. I mean, that's what I ask questions. I want to know. I want to know the truth of what really happened. And I usually find that the initial story that they gave me, they told me, or the group that I'm in, really differs. Really differs? Yeah. Really is really different from the end result. So by the time I'm done all the questions, I would say like more than half the time, the story has changed almost completely. And then the other half, it's changed so much that the original story really doesn't, they're not the same story. And you get more details and you figure out, okay, now I know what's going on. You know, you saw light coming in from this way, it bounced off that, it reflected off of this, you used a slow shutter, you weren't paying attention to who was in the room, this and that, everything else. What else do I have? Oh, too often, believers tend to equate "I don't know" with "it must be paranormal," which is completely wrong. It's misleading and irresponsible, really. When ghost hunters call themselves paranormal investigators, they put themselves on that higher pedestal, because it's like ghost hunters are here, and then when you're a paranormal investigator, you're more professional, supposedly. So you're up here, and you're going out and you're presenting yourself and your team with your matching bowling shirts, and all this equipment, stuff that they bring in Pelican cases and stuff. They're coming out there and they're supposed to be professional. And I know a lot of them try. They do. But when you see a picture and they're not sure what it is, or they see a video and a light comes through and they don't know what it is, instead of saying, "I don't know," they say, "Well, we can't find a cause of that, so it must be a ghost. Or it must be a spirit, or it must be a demon, it must be Bigfoot, or UFO, or aliens, or greens, or grays, whatever." They say it's that. So it's kind of weird because, I mean, when you say you don't know, you don't know. But when you say it's paranormal, you're actually giving it a cause. You're giving an experience a cause without any evidence to support that cause. Did I say that right? I hope I did. So, I mean, if somebody says, "Oh, what is that a ghost?" and you say, "Well, I don't know what it is, so it must be." You totally fucked up there. So that's I think that's all I have to say about that right now. I hope that answered your question. All right, question number 3 comes from Valerie Myers, and she says, "I'd like to expand on Andy's question, which was the first question we did. Has there ever been an event or events that you witnessed that had absolutely no logical explanation? Spill the details." Well, Valerie, I'll spill the details. Actually, this is a weird question. It's not a weird question, but it's a question that I'm going to have a weird answer to. And that answer is, I don't know. And I say I don't know because most of the experiences that I've had that seemed to be paranormal at first turned out to have a logical explanation to them. That was after gathering all the info, all the information, asking questions, asking more questions, examining the scene, examining the evidence presented by either the owners, the renters, the workers, or previous ghost hunting teams. We were able to recreate the events or figure out what was going on. And that's probably more than half. I would wager about 3/4 of the time that's what happens. I figure out what's going on, and it takes a lot of work. The experiences that I could find no logical explanation for, usually it's because of insufficient information, and that breaks down to not being allowed or able to examine the scene, or devices being used. Like all these ghost hunting gadgets that are being used. If I can't see the original device being used, then it kind of screws up my investigation. It also goes down to witnesses not remembering details, misremembering details, interpreting details, which easily leads to misinterpretation of details. They didn't get a good look. You can't go back to certain places. You can't interview certain people, maybe because they passed away or moved away or refused to talk to you. Maybe the building has been knocked down since then or sold and it's now a private residence and they don't want anything to do with you. Stuff like that. That hinders it, and if you don't have all the information, then you can't find a logical explanation for it. Sometimes it's timing. And just as a quick example, it's like when a car, when you have a farmhouse. This is even better. When you're at a farmhouse and it's way out there, and for some reason there's kids out there off-roading, in their Jeeps, and their spotlights that are on top of the Jeep happen to come through the window and create a weird shadow because it reflects off of, I don't know, like a mirror on the other side of the room, or maybe even like a reflective picture frame, or something like that. And it creates weird shadows or weird lights that go across the room. If somebody sees that and freaks out and thinks it's a paranormal experience, it's really, really hard to recreate that. It's damn near impossible to recreate it, because if the actual cause was something like the Jeep out there off-roading, who knows what angle they were at. Because, friends of mine like Bobby Tingle, who go off-roading in Jeeps, man, the shit that they do is crazy. And their Jeeps are all like, I'll do my little mystery machine, like they're all over the place like this. So you never know what's going to happen. You have to be able to have full access to the location and know all the details and be able to recreate what happened. As far as personal experiences that I've had I'm talking over myself. Personal experiences that have no logical explanation, I can't really say that there was, because I wasn't able to investigate them all completely. That might sound like a cheesy answer. I hope it's not, because it's an honest answer. You know, I'm sure there's people out there that are going to say, oh, well, there's some things that cannot be explained. And I agree to a point. You know, there's things that are not explained right now because we don't have the knowledge or technology to gain that knowledge to explain them. But that doesn't mean they're unexplainable. All right, because unexplainable means they will never be explained. And I think that's just silly. You know, like a story like with the lights coming in and not being able to find the source ever. Yeah, that's a mystery. You're never going to be able to 100% solve that. But, you know, we can try. I hope that answered your question. If not, feel free to, you know, send me another question and say, Kenny, you know, what the hell? You didn't answer my question, and clarify for me. Okay? I hope that was good. All right, my next question comes from Tim Vickers. He asks, what are ideas of basic paranormal experiments anyone can do? Nice, clean-cut methods, low-cost materials, and can be replicated by other people. I think simple experiments can be done on just the equipment that ghost hunting teams already have. It's really important, too, I think, because when you go to conferences and you see all these teams that are together and they have their 8-foot tables, and some of them have, like, the table packed, like, jam-packed with equipment. And there's a lot there. When you start asking questions, honestly, they don't know all the answers about how it's used and what it does and what evidence or supporting data they have to support claims. So do little experiments on these things. And it doesn't really cost much because it's equipment that you already have. So you have the main item. You have the main device. Read up on it. You know, find out what it's supposed to do. What is it designed to do? Say for like the K2 meter. So many ghost hunting teams use it because they say it detects ghosts, or ghosts can communicate with them because they make it light up. Bullshit. It's not designed for that. It's designed to to pick up electromagnetic fields within a specific range. That's what it's designed to do. Nothing to do with ghosts. So, find out that range. And then, once you do that, go around the house. You know, hold that meter, make sure it's on, and it doesn't have one of those pressure sensitive switches, which really suck ass. But go around your house, go around your apartment, go around your buddy's house or apartment, and see what can make it go off. Electrical devices, computers, cell phones, two-way radios. There's a lot of those. Refrigerators. What else? Oh, crap. What do I have around here? Printer, radios, electric fans, lightsabers. No. And just see what not only sets it off, but how far away. And I take a tape measure with me. I mean, it sounds silly, but I do, just to see if it's like, all right, well, I can pick up, say, the refrigerator when it kicks on, when the motor cycles on. I could pick that up from, let's say, 10 feet, and then you move back 15 feet. Can you still pick it up? You know, these are things you need to know. Simple experiments. And also know that not every refrigerator is the same. So if you go to a different house, or you go to a facility or historical place that has another refrigerator, if it's an older one, if it's a newer one, a larger one, a smaller one, that's going to affect your findings. So take that into account. Also know the proper operation. You know, with these K2 meters, and I'm picking on them, they need to be revolved in all three axes. So if you have, I'm going to use my phone, if you have a K2 meter, you can't just go around and expect it to pick up everything accurately. It doesn't anyway, but you need to hold it like this and go around like this. You need to go around this way. Then you need to go around this way. You need all three axes. Actually, yeah, you need to turn it that way to pick up, because it only reads in one direction. That's why it's a single axis, as opposed to like the tri-field meter, which picks up all three at the same time, and you can't hold. But these are simple experiments that you can do just to figure out what's going on. Take it to historic sites and see what happens. Oh God, I had a brain fart. Sorry. You know, take it like there's a place, Fort Mifflin, which I love, great historic place. But there's a air traffic control. There's the Philadelphia International Airport is right next to it. So you have a tower there. The planes go right overhead. That's going to affect your EMF. So go there during the day. It doesn't mean the ghosts are all going to come out, you know, and affect your meter. Just see what happens when you just lay it there. Don't say anything. These are simple experiments, just to get an idea. You know, when people take baseline readings, I observe teams going in for like 10 minutes. You know, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And that's it. That's not a good base reading, because who knows what happens. You know, you could have an air conditioner that doesn't kick on for like a half hour, and you'll miss that completely. That's getting off topic. Let's see. What else do I have? Know the limitations of your devices, too. Does it simply do a yes-no? You know, if it detects something, like a lot of these static meters, they detect static by just lighting up and telling you, yes, there's one there. They don't give you a level or a reading or a strength or anything like that, but they just tell you that it's there. How far away does it have to be? Static electricity, especially in the winter months, when you're in those cold, damp places, and you're bundled up, you know, you have your undershirt, a t-shirt, sweatshirt, a coat, because it's fucking cold out, you're going to generate a lot of static. And you could be 5, 10 feet away, maybe more, and you can affect that device. So that would be a good thing to do. Right now, in the Philadelphia area, it's cold, so this is a great time to check those kind of devices. Take it outside. Set it up, let it do whatever it's doing so it's on, and then move around. You know, see if you can set that off. Take a balloon with you, because it's supposed to pick up static. Take a balloon, you know, rub it on your head. Whoa! And then see what happens when you call sparks. Let's see. Get your facts straight. No assumptions. That's a big deal. You know, make sure you know the range that you're working in. Don't assume that it won't pick you up through a wall. Don't assume that... oh, this is a good one. Audio recorders. Audio recorders are notorious for picking up all kinds of noises that the investigators don't hear. So, here's a simple experiment. Turn your recorder on, put it at one end of a room, take a tape measure, and then measure out like 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet, you know, as far as your that room or maybe a hallway will let you. And at each distance, whisper. You know, whisper, "Hey, I'm here. Can you hear me?" Something like that. Just to see how far away you could be with a whisper and your device still picks you up. Because that's a big deal, because how many EVPs are whispers? You know, and this will give you a better idea of what's going on with your own equipment and how better to interpret what's going on later down the road when you're reviewing your data, not your evidence, but your data, and you hear a whisper and you're like, well, I was within range. You know, I was within like 15 feet of that, so if I whispered, that definitely could be me. All right? It'll enhance the quality of your work, and I hope that's good. Experiments. Write everything down, too. Make sure you write everything down. All the details. What you're doing, what you're using, how you're doing it, everything. Also cite sources. If you get specs, tech specs from somewhere, from like the manufacturer website, write it down or type it, you know, copy and paste. So you have sources, because especially if you publish this kind of stuff, if you put it up on your Facebook or your website, you'll have sources where you got all your information from. You know, and people can go verify that. Because if you put in specific information like EMF range or temperature range, I want to be able to check and make sure that you're right. And that's not just saying that. That's not saying you're lying. That's just checking your work, which is what we're supposed to do. So that's that's basically it, I think. I mean, if we can get into more detail, I'll be on Tim's show, Paranormal Talk Radio. He does the show with Matt Haas. Both are friends of mine. I'll be doing the show this Friday, which is in like 3 days. And we're actually going to talk about this topic more. So I'm going to have more examples. So if you get a chance, look for that show and take a listen. Hopefully it'll be good. I hope that answered your question, Tim, because, I mean, basically it won't cost you much at all. It shouldn't cost you anything. It's straightforward, it's easy, and pretty much every ghost hunting team can do it because they already have the equipment. So I hope that's good. Alright, so my next question comes from an anonymous source, like a ninja. Okay, and they ask, in your opinion, what is a portal? A portal. Ooh. Now this is a paranormal question, so I'm going to answer it like that, in that context. Portals, in the paranormal sense, are believed to be doorways to and from other places, like heaven, hell, spirit realms, other dimensions, Zeta Reticuli, Orion's Belt, stuff like that. People like ghost hunters think that ghosts and demons and other entities can come through these portals and escape into these portals. They just pop in and out. It really got popularized by a really shitty paranormal TV show where one of the jackasses claimed that he could detect wormholes and shit. And then Portal just, it evolved from that, and everything was a portal. Everything. And now other TV shows, paranormal TV shows, use the word as a buzzword. None of them have a fucking clue what they're talking about. They're just basically making it up, and that's my opinion, that it's basically made up because there is just no evidence to support that they actually exist. There's no evidence to support that we can detect anything that remotely resembles what they describe. And that's pretty much it. I think it's wishful thinking on the part of paranormal enthusiasts who want an explanation. They don't have one because most of the time they don't look deep enough. Or they do look, they find one that's kind of natural and decide that, they don't want that because it doesn't coincide with their preconceived beliefs. So they invent something. This sounds like a blanket statement and a stereotype. And yeah, it kind of is, but I know I know some ghost hunters and paranormal enthusiasts don't agree with this. I know a lot don't agree with this, but there are fanatics out there that wholeheartedly believe portals exist. You're wrong. Next question. All right, this next question comes from another ninja. No, we're good. We're good. I don't see any. All right. The question is, can land be tainted by evil or with evil? Okay. So, wow, this is interesting. Because at first I thought it was like a funny question. To be honest, I thought it was funny. But I didn't laugh too long, so I don't want to insult the person that asked this question, because it's a legitimate question. I mean, if you don't know, ask. That's what I always say. So, my answer would be, as far as science, logic, and reason is concerned, no. Land is land. It can be fertile, it can be dry, poisoned by toxin, it can be forested, rocky, it could be changed by man, messed up, natural disasters and stuff like that. But as for evil, there's no reason or any science to support such an idea. Evil is more of a philosophical term, or a philosophical debate, I guess you want to say. I think the ideas came from superstitious people, those that fall into like more of a fantasy-prone syndrome, where it's easy to believe that if over the years bad things kind of happen there, like once or twice a year, or maybe once every 2 or 3 years, something bad happened, and then 3 years later, a bad thing happened. A place gets a reputation, like, oh, so-and-so died over there, and then later on, so-and-so died. And then, over time, stories get messed up, and they get jumbled, and you usually lose all the years that are in between, and all of a sudden, it's like, hey, you know what? In the span of like a week, 57,000 people died over there. I think that's kind of what happens. That's how legends are born, and land becomes cursed because of historical stories like that, legends and folklore that surround an area. Bermuda Triangle. There you go. Let's not even get started on that thing. But as for being evil and cursed, no, I don't think so. And accidents like, people falling or dying and stuff like that can be caused by a lot of things. Topography, that's a hard word to say when you're not used to saying it. Topography, cliffs, rapids, the way the land is shaped, condition of the person and people, if they're out of shape, if they're trying to go up a cliff or down a cliff, landslides, environmental conditions like weather, rain, and lightning, the gear, vehicle condition, if they're going across a desert and the car breaks down, or the Jeep breaks down, or something like that, equipment fails, it could kill somebody, or leave somebody for dead. Stuff like that. So if you believe a land is cursed or has evil in it because of some stories, I suggest really researching the stories. And that means going to historical societies, libraries, looking through microfiche, old newspapers, talking to long-time residents, getting ideas from them, hearing the stories, looking it up, and getting all the information. Because you might find that like a jam-packed pile of really bad things weren't so bad. They might not be so bad, and they might be spread out a lot further than you think. So I think that answers your question. I hope it does. If it doesn't, please send me another question, and I'll get right on that. Okay? All right, my next question comes from Phil Downsborough, and he asks, that's my Philly accent there, asks, hey Kenny, I'm interested in poltergeist phenomenon. Have you come across any interesting cases? What are your thoughts on the phenomenon in general? Well, this was like a late addition to the video, so I have no notes on this. I'm going to go completely off the cuff on this one. As far as I am concerned, my opinion of poltergeist activity is that it's usually caused by somebody in the house or on scene. And usually it's an adolescent. There's that running idea or pseudo theory that it's caused by young girls going through puberty, and that they somehow gain telekinetic powers. Wow. That sucks. That would suck if that's the case, because we would get telekinetic powers and then lose them. What the fuck? I would hate that. Anyway, but my opinion, I don't think it's so much that, like, telekinetic power, because that's just another supernatural cause put to it. I think that it's usually caused by an adolescent that wants attention or has issues, maybe mom or dad issues or attention issues, or just mischievous. There's a case that I actually linked to him. It's called the Enfield Poltergeist, which was investigated by Joe Nickell. He looked at all the stuff, and I suggest you look it up. The Enfield Poltergeist by Joe Nickell. Look it up. It's a great case, very detailed, lots in there. But other cases, and I can't give you names off the top of my head, mostly because I don't remember them, and then some of them I can't give you. It's private. Sorry. But basically, it's usually the kid. The kid wants attention. They start throwing things, making noises, screaming, nightmares, stuff like that, and the parents get concerned. So what I would have to do is actually do an on-scene investigation, set up cameras. But it's kind of hard because kids are smart. They're crafty. They're little freaking ninjas. when it comes to stuff like this. They know the ins and outs and how to get around mom and dad easily. And that's one of the big symptoms. Mom and dad, as much as we are good, we have experience, we know what our kids can do, we can be fooled, and we are also trusting of our kids. So when a kid wants to trick our parents, it is kind of easy for them sometimes, to get one over on us. Other family members too. I just got into a big kind of a argument, debate with somebody that posted a picture that was caused by a cell phone app, and they got it from their 11-year-old grandson, and that was enough for them. That was proof positive to them, and he was really nasty about it until he was confronted with enough evidence to show, that he was fooled. And when he confronted his nephew or grandson, found out that yes, the grandson tricked him. So it's real easy to fool family members. But this really, anybody that's claiming to have a poltergeist going on would really require like 24/7 monitoring. You'd have to set up cameras all over the place. It's very intrusive because most of this stuff happens in the dark or when the kids are not being watched. When they go into other rooms, that's when it happens. When everyone's backs are turned, when people are putting up equipment or taking it down, that's when things happen. So they'd have to be constantly monitored. They would have to not know where some cameras were. You'd have to be able to set stuff up covertly without anybody knowing, just so that you could catch what's going on. And the cases that I've read up on, that I haven't been involved with myself, but I've read up on with people like Joe Nickel and Ben Radford, stuff like that, writers like that. When they investigate cases, they find all the details. They go into the history, go into the details of each claim that's going on, and investigate how it could have been done. And then they set up quote-unquote traps to catch what's going on, and it's usually the kids. So I guess to sum all that up, I talk a lot. I apologize, but I guess the Cliff Notes version is that usually it's the kids doing it on purpose as a joke. It starts out as a joke, and then it blows up on them, because once more family and neighbors come over, and then the media gets involved, then it gets out of their hands. And if they stop and confess, then the parents look stupid and they're embarrassed. So they have to keep going until they're caught, which sucks too. All right, so I think that's it, Phil. I hope that answered your question. If not, please feel free to send me a follow-up question. I'd be more than happy to talk about it more. Especially if you give me specific questions, I can really go into that more. Like I said, this was a late edition. It was just a good question. I wanted to touch on it. I say a lot. So there you go. I'm going to do one more question, and I'll just keep going while I stop the video. I want to end this one on kind of a funny note. Maybe it'll give you a laugh. I do get interesting messages from time to time, and this last one comes from somebody that sent me the message, then immediately blocked me. And the question is, "Dear Ass Face, why are you such an asshole?" Well, it's my natural reaction to fuckers like you. There you go. Seriously, if you want to ask me a question, just ask. Don't be a dick about it. But to go further into my assholiness, I don't really try to be. I don't try to be an asshole. I am aware that I come off like that sometimes because I'm very blunt. I'm forward. I ask a lot of questions, and I think I've said this before in another video. I want to get to the truth, and sometimes you have to ask questions that make you feel uncomfortable, and I don't apologize for that. And if you're investigating paranormal claims, you should not apologize for that. You should be able to ask hard questions about the case, as long as they're relevant. Don't say, are you on birth control or stuff like that, because I don't think that's relevant, especially if they're, they're having doors closing on the second floor. That's really not relevant. Anyway, ask hard questions. Like, were you really there? Did you really do this? Don't be afraid to go to push it a little bit. And I do that. So, yes, I understand that I come off like an asshole sometimes, but it's not, I don't mean to be that. It is intentional that intense. That's a good word. I like that. And when you challenge people's beliefs, that really makes you look bad. Because the paranormal, and I've said this before, the paranormal is more like a religion. Because people have these beliefs that ghosts exist, that demons exist, that they're real, and that somehow humans have magical powers that can cast demons out, or you can say a few words and protect yourself with this white light and nothing can get into you, and stuff like that. That's superpowers, really, what it comes down to. And I don't mean to be insulting, but that's silly. We also use equipment that supposedly talks to and detects and captures ghosts, which we haven't really proven. So I keep asking questions about that. So if I come off like an asshole or an ass face, does my face look like an ass? It doesn't. I'm looking in the camera. No, I don't think so. I got a big nose. That's about it. But that's it. You know, I think I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to leave that question there and move on. That wraps up this edition of I Am Kenny Biddle. I didn't even say that in the beginning, did I? Wow. I am Kenny Biddle. Yay! No big deal. Just a regular guy. If you want to get in contact with me, feel free to contact me via Facebook at I Am Kenny Biddle. You can actually type that in to the Facebook thing and I'll come up. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is under Kenny Biddle. Also, go over to my other podcast that I do with Lou called Geeks and Ghosts. If you go to YouTube or Facebook and type in Geeks and Ghosts, it'll come up. You subscribe, like us, follow us. We talk about other topics on there, like paranormal topics, but also geeks and you know, comics and movies and stuff like that. It's really fun. If you have any complaints about me, you can contact Lou Castile in California. I'm sure you can find him easily. He's always commenting on my Facebook pages. So send a hate mail to him. If you have any questions, follow-up questions to what I've said here, or if you have your own questions about paranormal that you're just curious about what I'm going to say, you know, what my opinion is, send them over. I love doing these kind of videos. They are fun. This is the second one. I really like it because it's fun. It puts me in going in different directions. So I learn stuff. I figure out new things. I get to read about new things, and it's fun. There you go. I gotta stop saying I'm gonna end. That's it. Bye-bye.